Hey guys, it's Rhonda with Blessed in the Mess Ministries. I want to talk to you today about a few things, some really staggering statistics that a lot of people aren't aware of. And of course, you know this is going to be regarding addiction and recovery. But just doing research, it's crazy the information that's out there, the statistics of the number of people that are struggling with drug addiction, how they get there, why they stay there, not having access to help is a huge reason why people aren't getting the help that they need. They don't have the money or insurance, or of course stigma keeps people from getting help. But some of these statistics are staggering. They say that about 90% of all people that are addicted to drugs, they get addicted when they're teenagers. And about 75% of people that get addicted to pills, pain pills, 75% get them from friends and family. These teenagers aren't even being prescribed these pills. They're actually, just experimenting with drugs. So that is a huge number of teenagers who are literally just becoming addicts for the fun of it. Of course, you know how society is, but very rarely are pain pills their first drug that they experiment with. A lot of times it's marijuana, and you can sit there and argue marijuana is not a gateway drug. Well, I would beg to differ that. Even alcohol usually tends to start even before marijuana. So, there's always this progression that ends up, leading people down the path that ends up, with heroin or some really dangerous, heavy street drug. And they say that just through research that most of the people that end up using drugs a lot of times usually have another mental health issue, whether it be depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, post-traumatic stress, bipolar, all of these things. They're finding that a lot of addicts, the majority, are struggling with one other mental health issue. And 93% roughly of heroin users usually have a mental health disorder. And so one thing that they're studying and coming to understand is about 2/3 of heroin users suffered some type of trauma as a child. And that's staggering. I mean, because the epidemic is really so huge and so many people don't really understand what's going on. But if you do the research, you can trace all of this back to wounded children. And just seems to be the reason all of this is getting started is some type of wound that happens when we're children. And something that wounds me may not wound you. Every child processes trauma and life differently. And one of the things that I personally, from my own experience and from other people, one thing that I see as a common thread is divorce. Divorce in the family is traumatic for children. It seems like, divorce is so common these days, but really, if the enemy can get in and destroy the family, particularly through divorce, it wounds these children. And it's such a trick that, that Satan uses. We go through divorces thinking, well, it's better, to get a divorce than to stay together. And in some cases it is. But, I just want to encourage you, if you're struggling in your marriage, man, it is worth fighting for. It is worth it. These children end up paying the price so many times. Troy and I always watch the show Intervention, because that's kind of, you know, where our interest is in helping, you know, people that are struggling. And man, it's like almost every time one of these shows comes on, you know, there's going to be a divorce in the family. A lot of times, you know, the people will share the wound from the childhood, you know, whether they were, you know, physically abused or sexually molested or something. It's like almost always there. So when you have these statistics that are, credible, it becomes pretty obvious. And so, you know, what can we do to prevent drug addiction? Well, we have to, you know, help our children. You know, if you're a parent and you have a child that goes through something traumatic, whether, you know, it's the loss of a loved one or a divorce or, you know, some type of physical trauma or mental, emotional, sexual abuse, whatever it is, you've got to get your children help. You've got to get them stabilized and rehabilitated if they need to be while they're children. Don't sweep anything under the carpet. I've been guilty of that. I mean, with my children, you know, I've been divorced twice, and those divorces greatly affected my kids. And in hindsight, I look back and, you know, I wish there were things that I could have done different, but I can look forward to the future and try to help others. Don't make the same mistake that I made. But we have to talk early to our kids about drug abuse and coping mechanisms and ways to handle stress. It's so important. It's important that, you know, we keep our kids in prayer and don't be afraid to get, you know, prayer, other people praying for you. Don't hesitate to reach out to your church or family members that can, you know, encourage you and stand with you and help you, you know, when you need to help your children, because their lives are literally depending on it. And, you know, they need to have as healthy of a childhood as possible to try to, you know, prevent these things from happening, these drug addictions from happening. And we have to be proactive as parents. So I hope that's helpful for some of you. You know, fight for your families. Ironically, that's the name of our class that we teach at the Home of Grace, Fighting for Families. But we have to fight for our families. We have to be the ones that are advocates for our own families and specifically fight for the mental health of our children. So I hope this has helped someone. Also, don't forget, right now we have the Recovery Video Challenge going. If you are in recovery and you've got some helpful advice to help others, please do us a short little video and hashtag Recovery Video Challenge. Together we can help. Together we can make a difference. So thank you.